Hi, Scorpio. Welcome to your July 2019 Astrology 33 bonus love reading. And also, before I forget, for those of you who'd like to book a personal reading with me, follow me on Instagram or donate to the channel. Check out the description of the video for more info on all that. And for those of you who haven't seen this particular spread before, this is actually a spread I do called the Bridging the Gap spread. And you might notice that there are different tarot cards than the ones I use in our normal readings. So the deck on this side is actually the Lover's Path Tarot, and then the deck on this side is the Tarot of Sexual Magic. And as far as the layout, what the spread means, so the cards on this side represent your energy, and then the cards on this side here represent the other person's energy, who would be your main love interest. And then as far as the positions, these would represent the past energies, present energies, future energies. And then once we're done with the main spread, actually we'll pull some oracle cards to, get some additional insight into the situation. That's where the bridging the gap element comes in. All right. So let's get started with the main spread. On your side, in the past, we have two cards that came up. We have the Two of Arrows and Illusion. So Illusion is the equivalent of the Moon card in the regular tarot. So these two cards together, the first vibe that I'm picking up on this is that, you were thinking something over as far as making a decision regarding your connection with this person, but you couldn't necessarily trust yourself to make the decision because you might have been worried that there was some deception at play. Now, usually when I see the moon in the upright position, it doesn't necessarily point to actual deliberate deception, but it can just point to, at the very least, you're not seeing things as clearly as you normally would. Think about if you're in an unfamiliar dark room, right? You might feel your way through it to make sure you don't bump into anything, whereas if the light was on, you'd feel a lot more comfortable moving around in that room. So that's how I view the illusion, with that moonlight, you're not going to see things as well as you would in the daylight, but this could just be saying that you were trying to rely on your intuition, but then at the same time, the Two of Swords is a card more about trying to ignore that and actually rely on your intellect. So you could have been torn between those two things. And then with this particular deck as well, when I look at the sword element, it's actually like Cupid arrows, so it's a slightly different vibe there too. So this could just be saying that you might have been getting some messages in your dreams about this person, since it looks like, an angel there, and then I would assume that would represent you sleeping, so that could be what was going on there. And you might have just been wondering, can you trust what you were seeing in those dreams, or, is it just an illusion, right? In the past position from their side, they had two cards as well. They had the Sun card and the King of Wands. So immediately, those are two cards that point to Leo energy. So you could definitely be dealing with the Leo. Definitely some fiery energy either way. But the interesting thing to me is, for them to have the sun on their side and then you have the moon on your side, it could represent a few things. It could just represent saying that the two of you are basically opposites, and that could be the struggle. And actually, Cancer had a similar vibe in their reading too. So if you also, like, let's say you're Scorpio rising, but Cancer moon or something, definitely check out that video as well. But, that could be what it's pointing to, just saying that you feel like your energies are so opposite. So maybe you feel very drawn to the person, right? But you're like thinking to yourself with that Two of Arrows energy, like in your head, it doesn't make sense. Like this connection doesn't make sense. We're so different, right? So you might be thinking to yourself with the Moon card, am I imagining things? You don't understand why you're drawn to the person, but you're trying to figure it out. And then with the angel representative there in the artwork, that could just be saying that this, at the very least, could be a karmic connection, that you're meant to have. So, sometimes you'll get those connections where you feel drawn towards someone and you don't necessarily understand why, right? If you try to make a logical sense out of it, you're like, I don't get it. So it could be one of those types of connections. But I will say with these two cards, if you were worried about some deception on their end, it seems pretty unlikely. With the Sun card and the King of Wands, it's a pretty open, generous energy. And maybe that's what it was too. Maybe they're very charismatic, right? And you might have thought that that was a bit suspicious. You might have been like, all right, maybe this is a little bit too good to be true, right? Like they seem a little bit too smooth. I don't know. You might have gotten like a player vibe from them or something. In the present position, we have the Eight of Arrows. So this is, again, obviously more air energy. It's the equivalent to the Eight of Swords, excuse me, if I can talk. So obviously you could see from the artwork here too, this represents just being stuck in your head. So this could just be, let's say each of those arrows represent more communication from this person, right? Maybe they're trying to advance toward you and you're just not sure if you could trust what they're saying, right? So you're just like feeling completely stuck. It's like you feel like you're drawn to them, but you don't know if you could actually trust what they're saying. And I mean, there can definitely be that attraction there with Leo and Scorpio. Like actually, if I know some couples, Leo and Scorpio couples, but there's also that tension there because you guys square each other. You're both fixed signs, so there could be that tension there too. So maybe that's what's going on. But for whatever reason, it just seems like you're really trapped in your head right now. For whatever reason, like I said, with the moon, there is going to be a full moon eclipse this month. That's actually going to be a couple degrees away from Pluto, which is your ruler, and then it's also going to be in your third house of communication. So maybe that'll help clear up the fog at the very least, or at the very least get you talking. But yeah, I'm just getting the feeling that you're just really stuck in your head. You're not communicating. You're not sure which way to move right now. You seem to be a bit stuck. All right, and the present energy on their side, they have the Strength card. So this is actually another Leo card. So there's definitely huge Leo vibes here. Um, and if not Leo, like I said, could be any fire sign or someone who comes across that way. Like I said, a bit fiery, charismatic. Maybe on the more negative side, you could say maybe they're a bit egotistical, but given that these are coming up in the upright, I don't necessarily think it's that as much. And then Leo actually represents your 10th house too. So, could be someone from your workplace as well. That could certainly be what's going on there. But yeah, to me, I'm almost seeing this as the boar would be represented by you because I feel like this is them where they're trying to get you to speak up. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm looking at with this artwork. It's almost like she's trying to pry the boar's mouth open. You know what I mean? That's what I'm picturing there. Because it's like clearly it doesn't look like you're talking. The Two of Arrows, the Eight of Arrows, they're, with the Sun and King of Wands energy, those are pretty outgoing energies. And they could just be getting frustrated. Like, really? Are you going to tell me what's going on? You know what I mean? So that's the vibe that I'm picking up there. I don't know. It seems like a pretty clear story in a way. So I don't know. This might just end up resonating for a few of you, but it seems pretty straightforward to me for the most part. In the future position on your side, we have the Five of Arrows. So three air energies on your side, which is interesting. Like I said, it could have to do with the activity that's going on in your communication house, because I mean, beyond just the fact that there's going to be that full moon eclipse, which is huge, don't get me wrong, but, recently you guys have had Mars oppose Saturn in your third house of communication, then it opposed Pluto, and the sun's going to be doing the same things basically. So definitely a lot going on in your communication house, but it seems like you're not outwardly expressing it. Now, I gotta put this out there from a vibe I'm getting with this card. Some of you, this could have just been as simple as you guys were playing hard to get, and it might backfire on you. Because what I'm looking at with this card, it's like that same angel, it looks like, from the Two of Arrows, right? And it looks like he's actually just leaving, like, all right, I'm done. You're not getting it through your head. I'm out of here. And then it's like you're holding those arrows because you knew they were there all along, but now you're like trying to reach out and grab them. Like, no, wait, you know what I mean? So as opposed to that straight up combative energy that we normally see with the Five of Swords in the traditional tarot. To me, it feels more like that, like the person's pulling away, and you're like, no, wait a minute, like trying to I can't find the words, but trying to basically undo the damage that you've done by not talking. Put it that way. So it's almost the opposite of what you normally do with the Five of Swords, which is you might do damage from saying too much. Here, I almost feel like it's because you're not talking. And then this person finally might just get frustrated and leave, and you might be, wait, hold on, I'm sorry. So just be careful of that. If that is what you're doing, playing hard to get stuff, definitely some karmic energy in your house of communication. Saturn there, and that eclipse right next to your ruling planet, that's going to be, pretty significant. So that could be a karmic lesson for you as far as communication and how you might use it in a manipulative way. So just keep that in mind. That's not going to be the case for all of you. For some of you, this could actually be the more traditional sense, which is you guys might get into a bit of an ego conflict. It could be like a standoff between the two of you. And what's interesting is on their side for the future energy, they have the Death card, which is actually the major arcana for you. So it can mean that you're dealing with the Leo, since there was so much Leo energy in these first two positions, and then they might have like a Scorpio moon, let's say, something like that. But really, more what I'm getting with this, especially with this artwork in particular, this person, I get the feeling this actually came up in the past position, actually, for Cancers. But I get the feeling with this particular death card, it feels like a very cutting energy. They might be sharp with their words. They might really just have gotten to that point where they're just frustrated and they're like, I'm cutting it off. I can't do this anymore. That's really the main vibe that I'm getting there. Or this could just be them mirroring your energy back to you too, since this is actually the death card. So it could be one of those things, all right, whatever you're putting in, they're going to give back to you. So if you're doing the silent treatment thing, let's say, then they're going to eventually say, all right, well, I tried to get them to come out and speak about what's on their mind. That's how they want to play it. I'm going to play it that way too. Because the reason I say that could especially be the case too is at the bottom of the deck on their side, we have the Emperor. So the Emperor can be about being a controlling energy, a bit stubborn. It's an Aries energy, but, combined with that, I would say that could be what it is. It might get to the point where they're like, all right, well, that's how they want to play it. That's how I'm going to play it too. And then you guys might just end up in a complete stalemate. So, which is interesting, because last month I feel like the reading you guys got was almost the opposite. It was like coming out of this type of energy and actually moving forward and being emotionally open. So I don't know if this is like a continuation of that, and this is just like an on-off relationship that you have with this person. That could certainly be what it's pointing to, or this could just be a whole different connection for a different group of you guys. But yeah, I do think that's interesting. And going back to what I was saying with the Cancer reading, what's more interesting to me too, these two cards actually came out for them in the past position, both in reverse though. So there may be some connection there with the Cancer. I don't know. The rest of it looks pretty different, but there could definitely be some Cancer vibes going on with you guys if you want to check their reading. And at the bottom of the deck on your side, we have the Ace of Coins. So, on the more positive side, if I wanted to look at this, I could say that the whole reasoning behind this is maybe you were just looking for something more stable. Again, especially if you viewed them as someone who's very charismatic, right? Outgoing. You might have been like, okay, well, are they all just talk, right? So you might have been like, I don't know, I need to see something more concrete from them, right? So that's what the Ace of Coins at the bottom of the deck could be pointing to, saying that you were holding off to see, okay, are they for real, or are they trying to do something casual, or what? So instead of coming out and asking them, that could be where it backfires, to where they try to get you talking, and then, it gets to the point where they're like, well, whatever, I'm out. And then you're trying to do damage control, like, oh, wait, I'm sorry, So if that's the energy you're in, be mindful of that, like I said. And yes, Mercury's going to be retrograde on top of that, too. So you could definitely be stuck in that energy because of all that. But yeah, the advice, we'll see if the oracle cards say something different, but the advice, if that's the energy you're in, definitely, where you're just looking for something more concrete, you might want to try to use your words and actually just, ask them what's going on before you take it a bit too far, especially if you see this energy play out in the present too, where they're, trying to actively get it out of you, like what's going on, what's on your mind. So if you see them get to that point, just know if you still sit there and try not to speak out, it could backfire. If that's not the scenario you guys are in, then don't worry about that. But that's just what I'm picking up on for some of you anyway. All right, so next what we'll try to do is we'll try to see if we can get some additional messages from this Mystic Moon Oracle deck here. So what I'll do is I'll see, first we'll see if there's any unspoken messages from you toward them, and then we'll see if there's any unspoken messages from them toward you. And what I do is I just shuffle this deck a little bit. If nothing pops up, I don't force it or like pull one from the top or anything. I like to get jumpers usually. So if nothing comes up, I'll take it as a sign that there is no additional messages. But, for those of you who haven't seen the spread before, I do have a second Oracle deck that we'll be using too before we wrap up. So we'll definitely get some additional messages either way. But yeah, let's see if there's anything unspoken from you towards them. Certainly seems that way with all these cards. Like I said, they're air energy, but they're not like the healthiest, communicative air energy. So, and with the moon, the illusion card in the past on top of that, could just be one of those things where, you just really don't see the right way forward, Neptune turned retrograde too, so I mean, if anything, I would think that could help lift the fog for you, so maybe that's why that's in the past, but, maybe it's like you do start to see things more clearly, but you still don't know which way to move, Alright, I'll give this a couple more shuffles, and if nothing comes up, I'll move on and look to see. Oh, there we go. Whoa, that's way too many. Hold on. Shuffle a little more. Oh, there would all, like I said, with the particular arrow cards you do, maybe that does go to show you have a ton of things to say to them, but you're just not saying it for some reason. But yeah, that was like 10 cards, so that wasn't going to happen. Oh, there we go. Alright, we got 2. And now I'll see if there's any unspoken messages from them toward you as well. I mean, it definitely seemed to be the more outgoing between the two of you from reading these energies, right? But it doesn't mean that there's still not something that, they haven't said to you or won't say to you that they should, but we'll see. Alright, yeah, nothing coming up there, so I'm not going to force that. So let's look at the ones you guys got. I will say, with these energies, the last thing I think that you guys are feeling with them is that they're not outspoken. You might, if anything, feel a little bit too outspoken and outgoing, but alright. One says, I've never forgotten you, even though you'd think I have. So this could definitely be someone from the past. And then I'm in a much better headspace now. Interesting, to be fair. I can see that maybe, maybe this is just, you being stuck in your head about the person from the past. This one, no, I don't know. I'm in a much better headspace now. I mean, hopefully you are, but I don't necessarily see that playing out in the cards. Maybe that's what the Ace of Coins at the bottom of the deck is pointing to, saying that you're getting a bit more stable with your thoughts, hopefully. But yeah, hopefully that resonated for some of you. All right, and then the last card I'm going to pull is this is from one of the Oracle decks I use in my regular readings as well, Wisdom of the Oracle. Let's see if we get some additional messages there to wrap up. Oop, there we go. All right. Actually, well, but yeah, before I mention the card that I have in my hand, Five of Arrows with the I'm in a much better headspace now. That could be where you get to at the end of the month, where because like I was saying here, I almost feel like it's you're trying to do damage control, so it could be one of those things where they might finally decide to cut it off, and that's when you're at the point, maybe it takes until that full moon in your house communication, that full moon eclipse, for you to finally, clear up that communication house, and then that might be when you're like, oh, I'm in a much better headspace now. Maybe that's what's going on there, but I don't know. It did come to me as I was looking at them, so maybe that's what it's about. All right, and then the oracle card you guys got is Peace, so that seems pretty promising. There's the artwork for it, and the number is 23, if that has any significance for you. So, I mean, maybe this will be salvageable if it does get to that Five of Arrows phase where, maybe they will be willing to hear you out, but looks like they might get frustrated from your lack of communication, so we'll see. It says freedom from attachment, radical acceptance. The Oracle's message. It doesn't get any better than this. A quiet mind, a heart fulfilled, freedom from want, and the soul satisfaction. The way to peace is through radical acceptance. Everything in your world is exactly as it should be. Harmony is beautiful. Enjoy it. So, like I said, it's pretty funny. I don't necessarily see the Oracle energies, well, to an extent, but I was going to say I don't see them playing out with the main spread unless, like I said, with the Five of Arrows in this deck anyway, as opposed to in the regular Rider Waite, which has a lot different artwork to it. This could just be saying that you do come out of that fog, because, all right, if we look here, she's sleeping in that first card in the past position with the illusion. Here, it's like she's not looking at anything. Here, it looks like she's waking up, but at this point, the dude's like halfway out the door, right? He's like ready to leave. So, could be one of those things where, all right, you might get there, but it might take a while. Just keep in mind, try to avoid it being too late. All right, the relationship message says when two people are in true alignment with one another, they have an innate harmony between them. They are as two perfectly tuned instruments playing together. Sometimes it's impossible to tell who is who. Peace is yours and it is to be savored. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, that hopefully would be a future thing for you because, like I said, at least in the main spread, I'm not seeing that. It looks like you might almost push it too far for this person's liking to where they might just really just decide that they're done. And then, you might have to do damage control. So hopefully this is just pointing to what would happen after that point. Maybe it's saying that you can salvage the connection if you do have to go into damage control. But yeah, like I said, if this is someone you do care about, and especially, well, even if they don't, but especially if it feels like they really are trying to get you to speak up, like take that as a sign that they're starting to get a little frustrated. And then they might just either, like I said, end up bringing that same energy towards you, saying, all right, well, that's how Scorpio is going to be. I'm going to do the exact same thing they're doing. So then neither of you are talking. Or it could just be saying that they might just decide to cut their losses. So, to be fair, things that do end during retrogrades tend not to stay completely over. But, if you could avoid it, it would be better, obviously. So, yeah, we'll wrap up there, guys. Hopefully you got something from that. And I'll see you all next month. Bye.